Hello, I'm here with.
Gustafsson, executive producer at Machine Games.
Now, can you tell us a little bit more of what you do in Wolfenstein?
My role?
Yes.
Like I said, I'm the executive producer at Machine Games. So my job then is basically I'm responsible for the quality of the game and the production of the game.
So you oversee pretty much almost like everything just to make sure everything's running smoothly, correct?
Correct. Yes, and also of course the creative side of it. So I'm also very much the game designer of the game as well.
Oh, okay. And have you worked on the previous Wolfensteins before, or is this your first?
The Machine Games Wolfenstein, yes. So those New Order, Old Blood, and New Colossus. Yes.
So like the new trilogy is the one you've worked with on personally.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, having the same role on all of these projects.
Oh, okay. So that's perfect actually. So one of the questions I've had, what was your what helped come up with the idea with the new franchise with Wolfenstein? Because I know they've had different stories and different iterations, but from my knowledge, and please correct me if I'm wrong, this is the only Wolfenstein that really like 1 connects to 2 and then 2 connects to 3. Like they all tell a definitive story, like these ones. So what was the idea process of doing that as opposed to making kind of like a one-shot in a sense?
We do have a timeline and a Wolfenstein lore timeline that we are following pretty strictly because we want to stay true to the lore and the story in general. And while Youngblood is very much a spin-off story, it's still a continuation of the story from New Order and New Colossus as well.
Now, what inspired you to take this story of like what if the Nazis had crazy technology and won the war?
The main reason for that, when we started off doing, when we were planning New Order and just get into the weeds of the story and started off, we wanted to give ourselves the opportunity to add some more fantastical elements into the game. So the main reason for taking that alternate history when the Nazis have won the war approach was to be able to add those fantastic elements like the lasers and robots to try to get that into the world and have it make sense. Travel to the moon is a good example of that as well, right?
Something I've noticed about the game, and I don't know how to phrase this. I'm sorry if you take. I'm not trying to.
No,
I feel like when the game came out, it was kind of like almost an odd timing, just because like there was a surge in like neo-Nazi belief, especially here in America, and I feel like the game kind of, if I could just like be bluntly, like the game was like fuck you to like Nazis, and I feel like that was like a good did that at all kind of like phase you guys a little bit, or just like this is just people would?
No, I mean it always does to some extent because you think about it, but in our games and in the Wolfenstein games, the Nazis are the antagonists, the enemies, and they are portraying the evils of the world, and so of course we have to treat it with I wouldn't say respect, but we have to treat it seriously, right? Yes. Because it is a bit sensitive, but we will never step back from fighting Hitler and the Nazi regime. It would ever be a bad thing to do. We want to. We want to tell our own story. We want to, have our players, we want them to have fun and we want them to have an exciting experience. But at the same time, we also want to treat the subject seriously.
Yeah, that's something I've noticed too. Like there's a lot of like serious messages within the game. It's not like at face value you're just like shoot Nazis, save the world. But once you kind of get into it, there's like a lot more deeper value. Like it's just like it doesn't matter where you come from, your background, your heritage. At the end of the day, we're all human, and that's a message I've really like enjoyed while playing Wolfenstein. And I think like you guys do a great job at like highlighting stuff like that.
Thank you.
When you do stuff like that, because I noticed, I think Mike Haas is his name.
Yeah, Max Haas.
Yeah, there we go. Like he's not all there, but he's still treated as an equal. And there's people who are African American or like of other descents, and they even touch on that in the game. And now, when you guys talk about like obviously race in the game is a huge subject for obvious reasons. When you guys go on it, what's like the process of that?
To be honest, the process is not. It's not like we do understand and we don't shy away from the subject in some shape or form is political, of course, since that just putting Nazis in the game is that. But when we do write our story and the story we want to tell, we don't really think about it in terms of any political agenda or anything. We just, we try to find interesting characters from different areas of the world, and to make sure and to show our players as well that there's a lot of people that are getting together actually to fight this evil Nazi oppression, right? And the reason for the different nationalities and the different type of people there is that we want to show that everybody is getting together to fight this Nazi oppression.
So it's much more like, I don't know if maybe I'm looking too much into it.
No.
But it's like if we all come together as a race, we could do like something amazing, kind of.
Absolutely, and I think that's a good message. The thing is though that we need to, like I said, we need to respect the subject, but we also need to think about that this is. I'm getting back to this again. This is about you as a player fighting against something that is very evil in the world and trying to free the world from that evil to make the world a better place. That's the fundamental idea behind everything we do, right?
To kind of shift a little bit, I know I'm a big fan of the franchise. I remember as soon as I had my first job, my first paycheck, I was like, I have to get Wolfenstein. It was the New Order. I was like, I have to get this, and I bought it and I never looked back. And I just remember playing it. It was just like there's a lot of like creatives to it too, and I think one of my favorite moments is in the second Wolfenstein, and it's like the Nazis like on the freaking moon, and you see like an old coughed up Hitler, and I'm like, how do you guys come up with this? Like
that's actually on Venus.
Oh, Venus. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Because when we decided to do the moon, that was actually something we decided very early on to go crazy, and that's something we did with the alternative history. But when we did the New Order, we actually set up Venus as well a little bit, because we had these posters in the game that said "Next Stop Venus" and those type of things, right?
Dropping subtle hints.
Yeah, and then it made sense for us to, where is the place where the Nazi, top brass would feel absolutely most safe, then that would be in that base, because no one will ever be able to get to them there, right? But BDA would, of course. And introducing Hitler was something that we also decided to do pretty early.
Yeah, that when I had saw that, I just remember the shock value. I was like, because like Wolfenstein, you guys are known for just like, no hold bars in a sense. You tell it how it is, but at the same time, you said you do it respectfully in a sense to where you make sure you don't offend anybody. So I just remember seeing Hitler, and I was like, oh God, like this is like they actually did this, like. That I didn't think I could get more shocked than what I saw from there. And that was just fast. Like that's one thing I've grown to really respect about the franchise, is that you guys are not afraid to push the envelope, but at the same time you push the envelope at as well as not offending like people who are affected during the actual war, like such as the Jewish community or literally everyone else.
And this is what I mean by that we need to take it seriously. Yeah. I mean, and of course we also want to have. We want to add some humor into the games as well. We do so. We need to be a little bit. We need to think about that balance and the shift in tones that we do in many ways.
And there's one thing I probably wanted to like share with you too. I think probably one of my most favorite moments in the franchise was I just remember I was laughing. I was like, I love how like you could get something as like serious as this, but still make them look stupid. Like. It was a scene where you're going back to, I don't remember exactly where, but you're going to like an ice cream shop, and then if you stop, you don't have to stop and watch it, but you can. Mm-hmm. It's when you're watching a KKK clan member talk to the Nazis, and you're just like, it's the most ridiculous conversation these guys are having, and I'm just like,
we had very fun writing that.
Yeah, actually. So I'm like, this is like awesome, because like you guys are clearly like doing your job of doing this, but at the same time just like this. At the end of the day, these people, they're the people that believe it's a joke, like, no, obviously, like, they don't think, but, like, their belief, it's, like, it's outdated, it's jaded.
Exactly.
And that's why I think you guys do such, I know, I keep saying it, but you guys do such a phenomenal job.
Thank you so much. It's so nice to hear, it's there's a lot of work that goes into it, so it's very, I appreciate that you're saying
it. And
it.
I think I barely made the connection the other day, and I'm sad to say this. You guys made a spinoff called Old Blood and then a new spinoff called Young Blood, and I was like, I see what they did there. But it took me this long to kind of like put two and two together. And I don't know if you're allowed to say anything, so if not, just feel free not to. Do you guys think you're setting up for a Wolfenstein 3 or?
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm not going to talk about that right now because I just don't want to. Because there are we have of course a lot of plans for the future, and there are a lot of things that are in work as we speak as well. But those just need to be revealed at a later date.
Okay, yeah, don't worry about that. Another to kind of talk about the actual game Young Blood now. One of the biggest catches that you could play this with a buddy. So what was the idea behind that? Because I know you guys, it kind of makes sense because at the end of Wolfenstein 2, you're setting up for Billy's kids because his wife is pregnant, and so that it all makes sense. But what was the final idea? It was like, okay, let's have this co-op because if I remember correctly, in the other Wolfenstein, you have your buddies with you, but you obviously can't play as them.
No, this is actually the very first time we as a developer also do a co-op game, not only for first time for Wolfenstein. And to be honest, we didn't plan for that when we decided that Anya was going to be our twins. That came after. But when we decided that let's try to do something new because we after 20 years with basically just single player story-driven games with male heroes ever since the Starbase days with Riddick and the Darkness, right? We have always basically done the same type of games all the time. So we also, as a developer, wanted to try something new, and we feel so comfortable now with our through the gun experience and the combat loop. So what happens if we add another player in there? We think it would be super fun, and it was. So it really come from that will, want of trying to try something new and try to, how would it feel to play Wolfenstein with a friend? And then, what do we do if we want to play two-player co-op? Then of course, using the twin daughters made perfect sense. So the reason for us being in the 80s, the reason for us being 20 years ahead of later than or 18 years later than New Colossus is just because we decided to use the daughters of Gutierrez Blazkowicz as the protagonists.
I'm sorry.
No.
That's something that I really like too. Is that a lot of media, it's genuinely the male that's the hero, and it's a story we kind of see over and over. And I think that's really awesome that you guys are finally especially now, and especially media in general now, it's starting to shift where you see a lot of female-driven heroes, and this one too. You see you didn't put just one, you put two, and which is awesome because it's finally showing that us as a culture, and especially Hollywood and video game industry, it's shifting. To where it just doesn't have to be the male. And was that a big part too?
Not really, because we usually don't. We try to, of course, in the back of the head you have it, and I think that it's great that we are doing it because I agree. I think there are a little bit too few female protagonists in games, so in that sense it's good. But it wasn't really, if we have decided when we started New Colossus that Anya would be having twin boys, then we would have two boys in the game right now. So it's not something that we felt forced upon us to do. It just automatically became that since we had them. But I'm super happy that we did, because they are still Blazkowicz. They are still these really kick-ass Nazi killers, and they have learned from the very best, of course. But I'm very happy that not only that we did co-op, but I'm also very happy that we did choose to go the route of using Jess and Soph, because I think we have some really strong female power in the game that is powerful in itself, and building that sisterhood throughout the experience is something that has been super fun actually to do.
So there's the last question. So I've noticed when I played the demo, it was fantastic. I loved it.
Thank you so much.
One thing I've noticed about it though, it feels a little bit more different. One of the noticeable things you notice right off the bat is that there's levels. So the enemies have levels, and it's if you're level 5 and you're fighting a level 8, you might have a little bit of a difficulty. What was the idea behind that?
Everything that comes from the co-op aspect. So what the co-op did for us is that it forced us to think in a different way, both in terms of gameplay and story. And by adding all of these elements when it comes to the non-linearity, that you can do missions in any order, it opened up for a more dynamic experience, because you can you are two that can do this now. And that's what also the level progression comes into factor as well, to make sure that you can play this game for a longer period of time together with a friend, and also have other friends join in over time as well. So the level progression is something we wanted to do to make sure that the game can live for a longer period of time. and,
Okay.
and that's the main reason for it. But everything comes from the decision to go online.
All right. Well, I'd like to thank you for sitting down. One last thing, thanks for making the game $30. And I was like, that's awesome. It's like half the price. So
Yes, but you should buy the deluxe edition
Oh, yeah, I
for
saw-
$40 because then you get to invite a friend for free.
yes, I was like, I'm gonna have.
It was
to
even cheaper.
Thank you for sitting down with me. Thank you for taking the time to talk. I really appreciate
Yeah,
it.
thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.